Here we go. Live Q&A. Don't see any comments yet.
Whoa. Invitation to see what's going on in general, perhaps.
Ooh, let's look. Let's look.
Always a good one.
You go first, Anita.
Yes, please. I'll get shuffling up here.
We know there's been so much going on.
So much going on. It's kind of strange that there's nobody here. Wonder what.
Sometimes that happens.
Yeah. We'll see.
That's all right. We're here.
Yeah.
All three of us.
And if it's something tech-wise, it might not be alive, but there's Ethan. Hello, Ethan.
Hi, Ethan. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
beautiful.
If you have any questions, please put them all in capital letters, stick them in the comments, and I'd love to hear from you. So we're just coming up to
right now.
The 8/8 portal is day after tomorrow. And what I've been telling everybody, my perspective on that is really about momentum. Hi, Tracy. It's about establishing a tone or a frequency that's going to carry us, and we're building momentum. So if we stick in if we're holding a frequency that is negative, challenged, it really just is about don't get stuck there. Because I just did a forecast for next week. I just pre-recorded one for my Beyond Mystic platform. And it looks like it's going to be a lot more of this intense energy, deep diving.
Look what I pulled.
What did you pull?
Emotions. But just the image on it, it's a bit disturbing. Yeah, it's like, where do I look? What emotion do I attend to? Because there's so many flowing. And this has been part of what's been coming up when I'm working with people as well. And I think we've talked about it on the lives before, this emotional rawness, that it's how I'm being shown. It's like a rawness that we've never experienced before because of manipulations. So that we had emotions, but that there was a reason why it was easy to be distracted and numbed, is because we were actually not truly experiencing emotions, which is an interesting sort of message that's been coming through. So now it's very raw and new. And we just got to keep with it, because the only way out is through. And so I'll connect with the other cards that I pulled on it, which is love and accept yourself. It's a great step in this process. And whatever isn't yours or you're done with, cancel, clear, delete, release.
Clear, delete.
Yeah, clear, cancel, release. So it's really showing stay in the flow, as Kristal and I were just talking about too, right? Like it's whether it's highs and lows, whatever it is, but staying in that flow, finding that calm, neutral space in your heart, and getting into flow with whatever is coming our way.
Yeah, definitely. That emotions multifaceted image was totally what I was going to say, was like the making space for all of the emotions, and then letting it flow through you.
And I should say that was before the live started. It wasn't something you missed here, but Kristal and I were talking just before we went on air about this. And so it's always these synchronicities, how it connects.
Well, this staying with the feelings, but not going into the stories or building narratives, building a big story about things. This is classic, trauma healing, PTSD healing work. Whenever you're working with anyone that is traumatized, that is suffering from PTSD, it's like it's important to support their experience in this moment, but not support a narrative about what that's going to lead to, what what that means about the environment. It's almost like if we take the outer world as the absolute truth and the narratives that we've been tuned into as the absolute truth, well, even what truths we focus on when we're in different moods. Have you ever noticed that when you're in a happy mood and surrounded by, high frequency, like-minded people having beautiful connection and experiences, you focus on other parts of the reality, other truths. And when you're anxious, guess what? The dial just goes swoosh over here, and it's like bumpity bump, right? Hi, Angela.
Hi,
Alex, Tracy, Mystic Mimi. Welcome, everybody. What are you seeing here, Kristal?
Oh, all the things. Just tuning into the energies of the week. Well, it's so interesting because there's a lot of like different aspects of the masculine kind of coming in. And Mom and I were just talking last night, having all the big conversations as we do, and just the working with the healing and the up leveling of our masculine and ourselves, and the support of these men in our realities. And it looks like there's going to be some stirring up of that this week, and also some caring for it. So like with the Knight of Pentacles and the Knight of Swords, really kind of feeling that, like we were talking about, the vacillating between feeling like, yeah, I'm accomplishing, I'm good, I'm on my path, I got the goal set, and I'm like checking things off the list. And summertime's busy like that too. So we're like really kind of getting things done, having an eye on the prize. And we're also being a little bit like, just like flying at things and just like taking on a lot, and then kind of getting in our sort of a little bit like ahead of ourselves mode, or a little bit like short with people even. So there's kind of like these this dance with these energies here with the knights. And then really actually, I mean, it's so kind of cool, really actually stepping into, so if this is thus then the question of the energies of the week here, and then the solution and the medicine of it is the King of Wands and the Sun. So, wow, we actually, through this dance and through our curiosity and stepping onto this journey in the past here with the Page of Wands, we're actually up leveling, holy moly, through some initiatory stuff, big stuff coming up, into masters of our energy with the King of Wands, masters of our sovereignty and our creative spirits, and our feminine through healing this stuff. And then really the like stepping into our higher purpose light selves. So, and yeah, that's that in a nutshell for me.
Yeah, I mean, just the amount of fiery energy here, right? And we know there's fires. We know elementally, even just if we just talk about elements in general. And I always think about this time of year with the Perseids meteor showers, the Lionsgate portal. It's such an activated, potent time. And this year is kind of up another notch from traditionally the amount of activation. So even though it seems like it's so incredibly scary and challenging, it's like it's all up at once. I see somebody is asking, hard to know, Leslie Ann, what to ask these days. Everything's so confusing, so many mixed messages. It's hard to stay positive. I do, because what is the option?
Yeah,
I choose to believe that we would come out of the other end better. Thank you, Leslie Ann. That is what I'm speaking about. It's really this energy of, if we're going to be, I hear in a lot of people's anguish, just throwing the towel in. And what I'm getting is, if we're going to throw the towel in, let's throw the towel in something amazing, right? If we're already at that sort of like, holy, what do I do? It also opens up the, well, everything is kind of free game. And therefore, how about stepping into the most potent? Like these are the two most potent activator cards in the whole tarot. And that's what we have for this week as like fearless, bold, dynamic, courageous. You can tell us a bit about this, Anita. You're a Leo.
Is that ever Leo energy or what?
Yeah.
How I charge in my life for sure. Yeah. I was also drawn to what Leslie Ann had posted because it's so connecting with what we're bringing forward here, and the it's important that we still reflect on what we might ask, even if it doesn't always come forward so easily or smoothly, because that's part of the bumpy ride that we're in right now, that energy. So I love to see this high activation Leo type sunshine beaming solutions coming through here, because it feels like something we can tap into at any time, and connects with actually something Ashala and I have worked on around heart math, where you really get your heart fired up. It is like your inner sun. And so when we can learn how to use that, like stepping on the gas in a car, where we can just, let's really fire this up now, that in general we're in this lovely balanced neutral state, but we can really charge things up when we need to, when we feel like we're faced with confusion and our emotions, and it's like, let's get behind the wheel. Again, we've had these conversations before around letting go, letting God or Jesus take the wheel, right? Like these two, it's like all the dichotomies are coming forth, and that's part of this discomfort and awkwardness. It's like, how can two truths coexist, or how can these different energies and emotions coexist? It's like, this is our opportunity to figure this out, and we do this by going through it, by riding the waves, by seeing what information is coming to us, not burying our head in the sand, when, like we have done so many times. And even those of us aware and awake, because it's just like, energetically, I can't handle this. Now it's like, you're going to have to figure it out. That's where we're in. There's no putting it off. It's like, yep, okay, be with it. Even if that's just reflecting on, what is this telling me? What is this telling me? Do I need to journal it so that I'm seeing it back, so that it's less confusing? But I love that, again, shining the light, beaming through right now, that the confusion and the chaos, just holding that beautiful connection with source, with God, and having that be that number one thing that charges up our heart and helps guide us.
Yes.
Trusting. We're building new trust and discernment through this process.
Always. The discernment piece is huge. Speaking of charging up, sun and star and moon bathing, but really like getting out, and especially that first hour of daylight and consuming source, and also getting in under the stars and really being where you can really take in the stars magic as well.
Yes, the stars magic with that meteor showers that are pretty much the most spectacular light shows for us here in the Northern Hemisphere is this upcoming week. So pretty exciting.
Let's get down to the business of answering some questions.
Okay, so
let's see. Ethan has posted. Tracy before.
Jabbed relatives becoming injured. 91-year-old father now has liver cancer. My condolences, Tracy. My emotions are all over the place. Anger, pain, frustration. As the rest of my family have no clue. Boy,
our hearts are so with you, Tracy.
To be in that.
Yeah.
You know, I want to say, I don't know why, but I just feel it's important to share this, is that I've been so blessed to have so many of my beloved people not jabbed.
Mhm.
And, you know, my parents are deceased. I don't really have, like a ton of family members that went the other way. And so for me, it's always been this, because I'm not that deeply emotionally right in the thick of it, I have this ability to see it from a distance. And what I see is that there's a wisdom in all the way that this is unfolding or unraveling, and that people who have made the choice, even though we think,
That's the card I pulled.
what is it?
Choice. So as soon as you said the word, I'm like,
Choice.
choice. And
Yeah.
it looks like a knight too here.
So it's like, it, you know, it's almost about supporting a sovereign choice, even though we think that they could have made a better choice, and if we'd only changed their minds or whatever. And yet I feel like there's something in the guilt of that really needs to be let go, because there was just, you know, I always found it so phenomenal that as that was happening, there were people that just right away it made complete sense to them. And it wasn't generational. It wasn't this particular, you know, culture of people or that. I mean, certainly there were some people and some cultures and subcultures that made more choices.
What made sense to them? What was the sense that was being made?
Well, it made sense to them. Like a lot of people couldn't see it right from the beginning, and a lot of people could see it right from the beginning, that there was something really wrong with the whole narrative, right? So it's like those two sides, and it seemed to be very almost black and white. And I said it quite a long time ago that I felt it had to do with past life oaths, that we'd taken a lot of oaths in other lifetimes, and that prevented some people their degree of being sort of layered with these oaths. They just couldn't see what seemed really obvious to other people. And that, you've got to imagine that is so complex. It's such a soul's evolutionary process of what you brought in and how it allowed you to either see these narratives or not see them. And we just can't know what that's really all about. Like, I believe that there's a greater reason for it, and that it is a sovereign choice. You know, we can look at it and say, oh, but people have been victims of propaganda and misinformation or whatever. And it's like, well, yes, but even that, so many people saw through that. So it's really about a choice that has been made before someone comes in, and therefore they've chosen that whole path and where that will go. And then the post-life review will be a real opportunity to, you know, receive the wisdom of all of this. And also that's where the heroicism of people like us will really shine, right? Your family can't see your heroicism right now because the blinders are all on. But when they cross over, you know, it's almost like God is your witness, and it will make a difference. It will count in the big picture of things, what you've done and the presence you're holding and the courage it takes to watch this and hold space for it with love and without judgment, without anger. That's the real medicine.
However, this anger, pain, and frustration, you know, to honor that we carry so much of that already in our beings, just being on this planet, and to try to not have those feelings and not put those feelings on your family it's a pretty powerful stance to take. And so we're all learning how to honor our feelings without projecting them onto the beings that are around us. And so there's no shame in anger, pain, and frustration. It's such natural human emotion, especially with all that you're experiencing, Tracy. And then it's really like always starts within you, really like working through those feelings in yourself. And the more that we can come into love for anyone, for like our loved ones and their choices, the better, because we've allowed that anger, pain, frustration, fear, all of it to come in and work through us, and hopefully honor those feelings without taking them into reaction and judgment of anybody else. Anita, would you like to show us what you pulled on that, love?
So I will go back to the choice card that I already pulled up, because some of the words on it, let me just read it first. Free will, courage, willpower, and change, along with choice here. So a lot of these words that Ashala just spoke, and again, it looks like this almost a knight on a mission, but yet no helmet. It's even though the hair kind of looks like a helmet, but just free thinking. The hair moving kind of makes me feel like that. Which way are we going to go? Because there was people who were definite yes, definite no, and then there was fence sitters who were trying to do research and figure things out. We had a lot of coming at us, and the pressure was strong. And for some people, there was like, didn't matter that there was pressure, and other people, the pressure was enough to sway them to change. I did have my 2 loved ones in 2021, the rollout year, mysteriously get these cancers return and pass that same year very quickly. And one of them was my father. So I'm so sorry, Tracy. It's not an easy road, but now that it's been 3 years this month, I can go. I can definitely see the wisdom that Ashala was talking about before in those free will choices. Because if it's not that choice, it's another choice. If you're not in that alignment, if you're not in that frequency, which connects with what else that came up here was unconditional love.
Yeah.
So that's the advice of the energy to get into, because we can love up people no matter what they're choosing, including ourselves. If we're beating ourselves up for a choice that we made, or if we took the jab and then realized afterwards, there's a lot of different scenarios, millions that are playing out right now. And then the third one that I pulled is so perfect too, because it's raise your vibration. Right. And that is, again, what the solution that we can step into is this unconditional love that helps us raise our vibration, so we can find sometimes that calm, but get into that feeling of calm and perspective, where we have a zoom out view of the bigger picture. And unfortunately, we're losing people, but isn't it beautiful to know, to feel love, and anytime throughout, anytime anyone's passing, that is the opportunity that we get to feel the love, even though we would never choose that pain or that loss, not having them. But that is how we're feeling, or why we're feeling, is because we love. And
Yes.
that's an amazing thing to embrace as well.
Truly.
That's it.
Truly.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you, Anita.
I pulled a few cards on the topic, and also, Tracy, like how to support you and others that are experiencing this in their family dynamics. Really sweet outcome in it. There's 2 6s here, which is balance and mastery, and then the Fool. And this is so much about reciprocity. And it's really, there's these almost kind of like simple steps that we can take, where we start to interact with these beings on almost like a really sort of simply human level. and take a lot of the narratives out. And we just come into, we're all kind of fools here on this journey. Like this is new for all of us. And even though we have these truths and we've made these choices, we're still figuring it all out as we go along. And so what is this encouraging us to do and inviting us to do? It's inviting us to share our resources and connect with each other in these really like humble and open and honoring without judgment. It's like you would with people that are maybe lower caste beings, like people that are less fortunate or have had troubles in this lifetime. You're going to really find those places in yourself to be able to share with those people. So we need to be doing that with our families as well. And we need to know that baby steps are what's required right now. And that every time that we come to this place of reciprocity, unconditional love, and show up leading by example, we are victorious. And it's going to take time. We're not going to be able to rush this journey. And we really need to celebrate ourselves. And like Mom said, honor that we've all made choices here. And how can we continue to find ways to come back together and really come into love with each other? Because these beings that made the choice are going to really need our love and support as well. Because what did we fight so hard for this choice for if we can't show up for the whole collective, no matter what?
Interesting, right? Like when I look at those sixes are balance and reciprocity. They're also about like humble acts of service. And to me, it's like, okay, the first act of courage was us to say no for ourselves. The second act of courage was us to say, gosh, we're going to do our very best to let everybody we love know and try to help them make good choices. And sometimes even have fallout and family, and friendships splintering because of that. That's the second major act of courage. But the third major act of courage, which could be the biggest one of all, is to come back into the fold at whatever place we find ourselves without having this, it's like if we're carrying that weight of, there's still something wrong with this. Like if you've done your due diligence and you've made your choice yourself, you've been that strong warrior person that is, clearly stood for something of value. And then this is the biggest act of courage of all, is to now be humble with it and at some point give over to, as Anita and Kristal both said, the larger thing that's being asked here is that humble love that's at the core of everything. And it's almost like that's your greatest hour, that's your finest hour.
That's
and
the real victory, right?
Of course, Kristal's right. Like you're going to have huge feelings in this. There's no shame in huge feelings. What we all want to do with huge feelings in these times especially is to feel them, but not build stories around them. And not to say, if I'd only done and should have, and why did, and that person's wrong, and if only, and what, how dare they, and all of that stuff. Like it becomes this, like, it's sort of like they're showing me like an albatross of heavy karmic energy that you carry around, and then you put that on the people in question as well. And it's not necessary. You've already made your beautiful contribution by honoring your sovereignty and the courage it took to do that. Like we are with you. And this is the next courage. So we are also with you in that, Tracy. Blessings to you, dear.
Yes. Beautiful, Ashala. And the rest of the family having no clue, that's part of their journey. So if they weren't listening or seeing it before, they're still not there. That's going to be an unfolding that happens when it happens. And I will say my sister is a doctor who is in the States, and because we don't hear a lot of the truth of what is happening in the news, she didn't give any of the jabs, and she had 0 patients wanting it. So when you see people who are rushing out for it, it's very different in the States. For those of you that don't know, or maybe you are in the States, maybe even in the States, some people don't realize, depending on what's around you, you're not hearing it in the news anyways, and you're hearing all sorts of numbers coming at you. I think there's a lot that will be uncovered and revealed about people who were pretending to give them or had fake passes and things, and that's all there. That some people really stuck with it because they didn't want anyone else to know, because it was all just their own business. But and I will just finish up on this by saying, every single day now, my sister is dealing with back injuries and death with these people who didn't want it. Some didn't get it, but a lot were pressured because of work circumstances, and they made the choice, but now they're dealing with the consequences.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And, also I'm just going to mention, I got this information through a download a couple of years ago now. And it was that, there's going to be a lot of different styles of waking up. Some people will just not wake up, that period. And some there'll be a real, I want to say, spectrum of different experiences. And some will wake up and we know a couple of these type where they just go, oh my gosh, they're so blown away and their hearts are blasted open and they want to do everything they can, jump on the bandwagon. They see us all as heroes and they want to be the next wave of, activists and advocates and all this stuff. And it's like there's a portion, maybe a small percentage, but some that will wake up like that and just go, like they'll be the first on the soapbox, right? It's so amazing. And then you'll have everything in the spectrum from that all the way down to ones that literally acknowledge it, but they're so disassociated, they can't even, it doesn't connect with anything. It's like, oh yeah, I know that was, in fact, I hear this a lot now. I'm like, oh, I know that was just a big scam. But then there's no, they still will just go ahead and line up for the next scam, right? It doesn't connect. The dots don't connect.
Well, and the fact that it didn't yet connect with everybody who's heard for years about other things, opioid crises, and you can see shows and movies that are made all around these truths of what, court cases there've been and payouts that there've been, and no accountability from those creating these situations. This has happened for so long that that it's easy to connect the dots when you're willing, but some people, that wall still stays up, like you're saying, Ashala.
Yeah. It's like I heard so many people talking about, after a portion of time, maybe a decade or so, pretty much everybody walking down the streets going, oh yeah, 9/11 was an inside job, but they won't connect the dot from that to this, right? And
right, that their government might lie to them or something.
Right. So there's, like I said, that other spectrum is people that are just dissociated. So they'll say they see, but it won't mean much to them. It won't really have much of an effect. And then you'll get everything in between those two. And you'll get some that will apologize and say, I'm so grateful that you tried to help. And then some that will be angry.
Yeah.
And want to stay angry and just be so maybe ashamed that they just kind of make a reason to shun you. And then there will be some where it's just, we don't talk about that. That's just a topic that we don't go to. A lot of people, I think it's just too much. So just know that your loved ones are probably going to fall in, as more information comes out, they're going to fall into that spectrum. They might move up and down that spectrum a little, but it's not like, oh, that's a bad person because they didn't wake up and get on the bandwagon and kiss our feet for being so courageous, right? It's like, we just don't know. We don't know what they've karmically arranged to experience. And we want to just meet them where they are, where they truly are, with that humility. Because, yeah, who is without having made mistakes, basically?
Well, I really want to, this is leading into Ethan's question. We've all talked about this topic so much, and it's like such a huge part of our reality. And I just want to finish that off with saying, in all the research and learning about mass formation and hypnotization that we've been experiencing, I learned that even the leaders and the people that are making these big decisions are also under their own type of spell through it, and kind of don't even really have an awareness of what they're doing. And if you can imagine what it might be like to wake up from being hypnotized and feel all disoriented, not sure what the heck to do with yourself here, that's essentially all the varying levels of what's going to happen. It can be as easy as like a little nudge from the universe, or this, that, and the other thing. It'll just like pop you out of it. So we're here with patience and care and kindness.
And maybe it'll just start bubbling up in different conversations. I've found that there's people that didn't want to talk about it at all. And just last month at the side of a sporting event, I had someone going to me, my wife had cancer, she's better now, but I wonder if it was because of the jab. Like just throwing it out there in front, like not a private whispered thing that people were initially who experienced these things. No, it was just like, it's like, I never wanted to get it, but she wanted it. So it's to have these things, maybe this will be part of it bringing light through where it's there wasn't judgment, it was just reflection on putting pieces together. And yeah. All right, so let's segue here into Ethan's question.
Ethan, you want to read it, Anita?
Sure. What is the most vital roadblock younger generations need to overcome to play their role in the collective awakening?
Thank you, Ethan.
What a great question.
What a beautiful question. I just love it.
And I pulled compassion right away. And this feels very relevant in social media driven upbringing for these youth. How do you create a sense of self-preservation without going too deeply into the ego and and judgment? So how do you maintain this balanced state within oneself and have compassion in the face of all these things we've been talking about? Judgment keeps coming to mind when it feels like everybody's judging each other so strongly, and that we've been shown that there isn't much in the way of middle ground. And so then it becomes very heated. But how can we have a compassion that is love-based instead of heated based? I don't know if that's, but that's just how it's coming through, where it's like responding to something instead of reacting, right? So reactionary is when we're triggered, and then that's our own trauma, that's our own past stories coming through. But when we respond, that's actually sitting with something, reflecting and going, yeah, despite my past programming or past information, in this moment here and now, how can I have compassion for what is presenting itself? And then again, discernment is coming through because it's trust your vibes. Oh, it's so bright. There we go. Trust your vibes.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. And then there's divine timing. So each in their own divine timing, as far as what we've been talking about. But with these younger generations, they're finding their lane. They're building their discernment through trusting their intuition, allowing that trust to build instead of it being shut down, which is what institutionalization does, which traditional schooling does, which many forms, the way jobs are set up. That's what a lot of it does, is institutional. Yes, the rules and the regulations that are being rewritten. We're not discarding
Yes.
things completely, but when we move into, it from maritime law into natural law, right? We're making that switch into what is divine instead of what was put upon us to control us. And they're very much a part of this. That youth has always been this vital energy moving. This is why it was easy also to harness very people's energy towards being incensed and become activists. When you're told a story, it's like, yeah, I get behind it. And you see a lot of youth going, yeah, we're going to do a skip school day and go on this march. Um, and so you're easily manipulated too. So that's why this discernment piece that came up, learning to trust your vibes, that's an important part. And finding the timing of where you're going to expend your energy, put your energy, and find that balanced compassion place where you have compassion, but it doesn't take all your energy, because that's another piece where it's
Yeah.
like you get too caught up in a movement and all of a sudden you're not even taking care of yourself and your health goes down because you're too busy planning the next march, or that anger and frustration is making you ill. And then what good can come of that? It is self-care first. It is putting the oxygen mask on ourselves first before we're reaching out and helping out, making sure we're this role model, strong energy, beaming, high frequency.
Beautiful.
coming
Thank you,
through.
Anita.
Mhm.
Love it. Can I jump in, Kristal?
Please, yes.
So interesting. I'm getting a real feeling around, as Anita was saying, discernment. Obviously, we've got the boundary queen of swords in the past there. And then interestingly, I just really got that sense. You were like, what's the roadblock? What do we need to get through? And interesting, when I see this line with the Queen of Swords, the Six of Swords, and the Hierophant, I feel like there's a real sense of, well, first of all, diplomacy. And secondly, helping the ones that are just a little like before you or below you, let's say. I don't mean hierarchically, I mean in age. So like mentorship and so studying. I love what Anita said about the whole institution around schools and education, because it feels like you may have to do some research and reconnaissance to find alternative forms of self-study, and then immediately like move into helping the ones that are a little younger than you find those same roots. So I really get like the Six of Swords. If you see, it's the this person has found a direction. They found a path out of troubled water, the troubled water being our troubled education system, and they're taking others to safety. So it's like, they're not just like, oh, good, I got to the other side and I'm like, good, forget about everybody else. I'm here and I'm doing better. It's kind of like help someone else along. And that gives me that feeling. Kristal and I have talked about this before, where it starts a trend. You're setting these trends to look at education differently, so that like you may have to do a lot more research and looking around the whole world, but the world is our oyster right now. You can be trained online from all different parts of the world. There's all these new universities, like online universities, developing new types of training, developing, and it feels like taking charge of how you're going to train yourself to set the tone for new earth. Right? So designing, like really, I think about the model of self-designed education that my younger daughter was in for a few years. And, it's not, you have to be very creative. It's not always a straightforward, like you're going to get trained in this and then you walk out the door with your degree or diploma and you get a job in that. I mean, those days are done anyway. like that ruse is over. So even I wonder about looking at these institutions of academia and like looking at places that have the courage, like academic institutions that are having the courage to do it differently, and putting your, I want to say, voting with your energy around let's create a movement off those unhealthy education models into something a lot more sustainable. So that's what I'm getting.
I love it.
Yeah.
I want to add something on that education line, that because I have my degree in early childhood, that it's, you know, different than the other institutions, but yet there's a lot of agendas that come through. But when what you're talking about, Ashala, is termed emergent curriculum. So instead of pre-planning, you know, in the fall, we're going to study apples and pumpkins and these things, it's and we've talked about this before, I feel, what is the group into?
Yes.
And that is being with the emergence of energy, reading energy, and how is that feeling? And not everyone's on the same page. So we're going to do this over here and this over here. Are we going to do a bunch of small groups? Are we going to come together and do one thing that most are interested in? But it's really being in the moment instead of, I did my studies in university, I did my unit plans, and forever after, I'm just going to press play. And that is the institutionalizing, mindless, follow whatever you're given.
Yes.
Instead, and I've been gifted with some amazing teachers in university who were very much disrupting that, very much about getting into philosophy and critical thinking and being in the moment. And these are the ethic professors that got fired through the pandemic, right? Because they were not going, that didn't go together, being ethical and having a mandate. That just never made sense. Yeah.
But what's beautiful is that a lot of those, you know, we would think of them as warriors or heroes or whatever, but there's so many more of them, and they're congregating and developing new programs all the time. So, you know, I think in the next couple of years and in the next couple of decades, there's going to be so much to choose from. And so even though right now it can feel very intense and frustrating, it feels important to keep that big bird's eye perspective, right? Look at the big picture. And it might take a new style of, like we were talking about, designing your education and your future. But boy, it's going to be worth it.
Can I talk?
Yeah.
Yes. Just checking. So I don't need to say much, actually. I just wanted to speak to the most vital roadblock, being that really just that internal battle, I think, that we kind of go through in ourselves when there's all of these different energies flying around, all of this like energetic distraction. And the most vital roadblock is, as we're going through this chaos and change and transitioning into greater perspectives, into building new dreams, into designing new education, and all of it, is how it feels in our systems as these things come up, and what that transition, that sort of taste of chaos is like. And that's going to be some of the, I feel like, most challenging roadblock. And the fives are fast, though. Like, we're moving through it all the time. So you know, I have a lot of hope for these younger generations. And Ethan has also just finished that off. As a collective, we seem to kind of be undergoing an early life crisis in terms of shared values. As a generation, we're really struggling to come to a consensus on new shared values and purpose. So that's this too, right? Like, there's just like, no, I feel this way and think this way. And there's all these like little crises that are going on in terms of our values and how we learn and how we grow and how we expand. And that is actually up-leveling us and upgrading us to our higher purpose learning and experiencing on this planet and celebrating it all together.
You know, it's interesting, Ethan, because I hear you asking this, and what I'm sensing is that it's leaders that ask those kind of questions.
Yeah.
Right? When you feel like, why don't we have a shared purpose? Why isn't someone saying, let's all constellate around this? Usually the ones that ask those questions are the ones that are about to step into that role. So it's my invitation to you to consider how this frustration or angst may inform you in, whatever your values are. Just start with your own little group. Like, start by working on you designing your career, your academic path, your way of self-study and training yourself. And then you just pick up little recruits along the way. And next thing you know, there's a trend. And, usually what happens with those kinds of things is like the 100th monkey thing. It's like, if you're thinking this, probably 100 others are similar. 100 other leaders are also thinking this. And then it's going to start. But it starts with people like you, is what I'm getting. So.
And asking these questions, putting it out there. Allow within your grouping of, or who you're connecting with, allow you and others to philosophize. That is how we are really working it through, instead of like posing the question. You ever think that we're being manipulated? Because it can feel like it's your own idea if it's been manipulated to make it seem like it's your own idea. And so really questioning the energies of everything. Again, I will say what keeps coming through, finding that neutral space, that balanced space that we're reflecting and looking at things from, to find out what's ours, what's been put upon us. It's going to take some time to untangle this energy.
As it does. So much love to you, Ethan. Thank you. Andrea's question right here.
I think we've got time for
one more.
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay.
I'm getting Mom to shuffle because I know she wants to speak to anything to do with Europe. So let's do it.
And England.
Oh my gosh. I'm so, here, I'll do it over here, and then I'll move them over there. So I was just contemplating a trip to England this fall. It's still on my radar, and I'm absolutely UK obsessed over the last 4 or 5 years. I don't know what's going on. I mean, I do have some ancestry there, but there's some reason for me to be there, and I see what's going on in Europe politically, and it is, it's so confusing because part of me is like, is this the time? And yet another part of me is like, of course this is the time. Will you pick a top one, Kristal?
Yes, I will.
Thank you.
All right, let me get into it while you're finishing that then. So how quickly can England become safe for all and the natives here? And thank you for the "ya doing great." So first thing that came up, as I like to check in with the chakra system first, right? The solar plexus, the gut instincts, actually, right here. And I love that I'm a Leo, a lion. We started with this, and we're heading into the Lionsgate portal. There's so many connection layers here. This is about, when it's gut instincts, of course, this is your intuition. What are you already knowing and sensing, rebuilding trust through discernment, as have been mentioned already. There is the miracle of prayer showing up.
Wow.
So are we asking for help energetically? It's always there for us. Cutting the cords to the old. Yeah.
There's a lot of cords.
Yep.
A lot, especially when we're talking England, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
The grand colonizers. Because there is, and so when we're looking at how quickly can England become safe for all, this aspect of it, I pulled the Justice card.
Mm-hmm.
So it's through this. Now, sometimes what we've already been talking about, a lot of people have been praying for justice. I want everybody to know. I want everybody to be on the same page, or just have an awareness. But again, as Ashala talked about, all these different levels of knowing and acknowledgement. It's not just the knowing, it's the acknowledgement of the knowing that's going to look different. But in seeing this, the Justice card coming feels like, feel safe where you are right now. Create your safe space through the building of discernment, through it feels like almost casting energetic bubbles or lanes or pathways everywhere you're going.
Ooh, I
It's
like
been
that.
done to us. Now let's take it up our energy and be like, but I'm creating this. This is all protected regardless of the chaos coming around. And so I pulled the Chariot card. The success came with the Justice.
Yep.
And then 6 of Swords, or 6 of Michael in this deck, which is, Archangel Michael comes in to protect. But you can see the chaos here. But meanwhile, we know that 6s are balanced, as we talked about, finding that flexible balance. It's the light at the end of the tunnel card. So this is what's showing up. When I'm talking about you projecting your path out, that's for you to ride the waves out at this time, because you can see that there is a lot of chaos and change going on. But knowing that when you ride your little tunnel through to that light on the end.
Thank you for that, Anita. It very much is in synchronicity with what we've pulled here, which may not be the most happy short-term answer for Andrea, but I really appreciate when you say that about creating your bubbles and casting your spell.
Yes.
I really agree with that. Kristal, what do you?
Oh, no, I'm going to let you go.
She's like, oh, you can look at this one.
It's the ouchie card. I see the ouchie card.
Okay, so we have open heart surgery and 10 of Wands. So open heart surgery is here, 3 of Swords, 10 of Wands, exhaustion, burnout. A lot, you're in one of those very potent portals on the planet. There's the Middle East. There's, the British Isles have historically been a very, very dynamic, potent portal. There's even plenty of evidence to suggest that they're part of the original island system that was the lost continent of Atlantis. So this is a massive, you're at a node historically where a lot gets karmically, as Anita said, worked out. And so if you want to be in a safe place, it's a place to learn how to build safety energetically within yourself, your work, your life, your home, your community, your frequency. It's not necessarily a place to go if you want no contrast. And to me, this is one of the most valuable things about, England and UK and the British Isles is that so much can happen there. Look at all the stone circles, all the megaliths all over the islands. It's like, that to me feels like what Anita just said. That is people getting together and creating these, I want to say, frequency bubbles to channel all of that potent energy that's circulating constantly there. I really have only been one time, and this is over 34 years ago or something, that I was in the UK. I went to Stonehenge and I was in England, and I was so affected by the energy there. I could barely handle it. I was just like vibrating the whole time I was there, and everywhere I went, I could see energies. I've been in other parts of Europe and Italy as well. It wasn't as intense as it was for me in England. It was like I just saw spirit everywhere. There was so much activity, elementally, energy where things have happened, people imprints, historical imprints. So the answer is not anywhere in the near future. Seven of Pentacles is a patience and perseverance, but what grows there is so rare and so precious. So it's like, if you were born there or have chosen to be in that very sacred part of the world, it is going to be work, and the gifts and rewards are going to be so amazing as well. So I hope that helps. And I'm sorry we can't give you that. It's going to get better real soon. And,
I mean, of course, we don't see that it's going to get better real soon. And yet, the tens are completion of a cycle. And to honor what your ancestry and your lineage has been through, the heartbreak, the pain, the suffering that you've potentially inflicted on others, or that your lineage has inflicted on others, laying down the burden of that and actually healing the heart leads to this whole new energy that's capable of coming through. And when each being starts to channel this new energy through this healed heart space, then there's going to be, like Mom said, the power that is there, the ancient mystery that is there is going to the energies of that are going to start to be able to come through again. And then I do think that these systems are going to.
Yeah.
The light at the end of the tunnel is showing up. So that's light that we can pull on, just like we can supercharge our hearts. The light might be there, the path might still be a ways to walk on, but we can pull that energy towards us as protection, as growing our energetic beam out from ourselves, raising our frequency, all of these things.
Definitely. And that, people often are like, well, I don't feel safe when the outer world looks so distorted or discouraging or scary or whatever. And it's like, well, it's interesting how we can have pockets of phenomenal safety and be living a different experience within something that doesn't reflect that. Like, you can create little mini paradises, as Anita was saying. And that's really about not waiting for all that to change so that you make different choices, but starting with yourself and moving out from there, building a new sovereign, co-creative, new earth, new paradigm style life. And if enough people in England are doing that, it is going to literally lift the vibration. So, and what can be built there is pretty phenomenal because of the fact that it is this very potent portal place. So I hope that
rush that process, though.
Somewhat helpful, Andrea. Patient perseverance. So I've got to go on my trip. I'm leaving right after this live, so I'm going to sign off and say fare thee well to everybody.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us.
Yeah.
Please do us a solid and like and share the video. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. And if you want to book readings with Anita or myself, follow the links below. And we would love to see you. And Tracy, I saw you say that that's going to be very difficult. And please know that we're here to support you. If you need anything in that way, please reach out. Okay. Blessings to all.
Bye for now, everybody.
Thank you.